definitely excited about being part of Gadsden, excited about being part of the mayor's team. Like Cindy said, I'm the Director of Economic Development and Governmental Affairs, and I do a little bit of commercial development on top of that too. So if you guys are familiar with Don Smith down in St. Clair County, I sort of mirror what Don does up here in Etowah County. And so with that being said, we've got a lot of things that are going on in Gadsden. One of those big things is that we're moving City Hall. We're moving City Hall over to Regions Bank, and we're going to be vacating the whole City Hall building. So as you drive down the river, that'll no longer be an eyesore up there on that hill by the bridge. What we're planning on doing with that building is we're going to be turning it into a 4.5-star hotel, and hopefully sooner than later. We met with hotel developers yesterday and took them all around the City of Gadsden, took them to some areas where we think that a lot of hotel stayers will want to visit Gadsden, and why Gadsden is a good spot for a 4.5-star hotel. What does a 4.5-star hotel mean? I don't know, but it seems to be pretty nice from what the plans they showed us yesterday. It's going to have a spa, it'll have a rooftop bar, it'll have a restaurant in the lobby that overlooks the river. It'll have 104 bedrooms, and it will have we're working off of a pedestrian bridge that will actually be crossing the river and would be going over to Buffalo Wild Wings and the venue. And so we're working with Congressman Rogers and Adderholt in Washington to try to secure some of that. The route, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to even look at the route, but if you were coming from Center and you were headed towards Gadsden, as you pass City Hall, the new hotel development that we're working on, you'll be kind of veering over to the right up Walnut Street, and it's going to cross over the amphitheater parking lot. Amphitheater will be safe. It has to be safe because we want to get reelected in 2.5 years, and so we don't want to touch that. People are pretty sensitive to the amphitheater. But we are going to be taking out the YMCA, and we'll be taking out the gymnasium there at the Y. And then it'll kind of veer across that parking lot behind the YMCA, and it'll catch 2nd Street, and then it'll merge onto 3rd Street, and there's just a natural progression that comes over that hill beside Riverview that just takes it right back over into Rainbow Drive. What's that do for the City of Gadsden? Well, that opens up another about 20 acres of commercial development and economic development for me to just try to talk people into coming and spending, hundreds of millions of dollars to come in and build restaurants and housing and things like that down by the river. It gives us a lot of green space for walking trails and boardwalks, and it just improves the entire living for Gadsden. And I tell people all the time, if you were to land a job in the northeast quadrant of Alabama, Gadsden has got some of the best natural resources that would definitely make it would make your quality of life a whole lot easier and a whole lot better if you locate in Etowah County, because we got a lot of things going on for us. But going back to that 411, once we get completed with that, one of the big things that we've got to have done before we get to 411 is we got to have that 759 extension done, and that's basically extending out 759 over to 431 and 278. And you say, well, why we got to get that done? Well, that eases the traffic flow. Takes that traffic flow off of 411, puts it back on 759, so that when we do wrap it through downtown right there, it's not quite as much traffic that we're diverting as it goes around by the hospital. So that's one of the things we've got going on. So something that probably you guys have noticed more than anything, and I seem to get, we get compliments about it every single day, and that's we've cut down a lot of trees along the banks of the Coosa River, and it seems to be something that everybody has enjoyed. Now, we probably have some boo birds out there on Facebook sometimes and that doesn't like quite everything that we do, but that seems to be probably one of the biggest things. I told him the other day, I said, if you don't do anything else, I believe you get reelected just on cutting down the trees. And we didn't even realize we had a river running through Gadsden until just about 6 weeks ago when we started that project. So we really think that's really improved the river, and we think it'll continue to improve the river as we bring developers into Gadsden and they actually start seeing that we are working hard on keeping our town up and tidying up some and making improvements around the city. So I do think that that's a big thing for us as we move forward. Some of the other things that we got project-wise, we're looking at, there's a Buffalo Wild Wings sits across the river from City Hall, and there's a pad that sits right beside Buffalo Wild Wings, and we're working off of some restaurants and some bar areas that has outdoor dining and deck dining, and then actually we'll increase our boat slips on the river to make it to where you guys will want to come up to Gadsden on your boats, and you'll want to spend some time at some of the restaurants that we've got in Gadsden. We are actually working on, over at Coosa Landing, we've got 2 above-ground gas tanks that will be installed in the next 6 months. I hope it's by Memorial Day, to be honest with you. We feel like that's an actual commercial development, some economic development for Gadsden, because there's really no boat traffic that comes up this way, just because there's really not a way to fuel. And so we think that that'll help. We think that'll help our fishing and things like that. So I do think that Gadsden, we have really embraced our river, and we've embraced our downtown, and we've embraced our falls as far as some of the growth and the economic development, the tourism type thing. Like Cindy said, man, I'll be honest with you, tourism's probably some of the cleanest money you can attract into Gadsden, because what I'm hoping you guys call do is you come in, you do the fun things in Gadsden, Alabama, and then you guys get to go back home and into your areas, and then that part of town gets to do the trash and the cleaning out the ditches and the potholes and things like that. And so that's something that we're working hard on trying to attract a little bit more of. As far as, so with the venue, we're working on some economic development for the venue on that. I don't know if you guys get to come down much and see what I'm talking about. But on the end cap by the venue, there's 14,000 square feet that we're working off of, trying to look at putting in a brewery, some type of 3 restaurants, and then outside or on that pavement, we would put 3 more volleyball courts and 2 pickleball courts, and that would be sort of an outdoor dining entertainment district along with the restaurant beside Buffalo Wild Wings with outdoor dining. So, and we think that would really start to attract these 30 to 35-year-olds with kids and things like that. That seems to be some of the things that we're missing in Gadsden to close the gap. Over on the other side of the road on the other side of the river is the mall, and so I don't know if you guys realize it or not, but most malls are dying in America. Retail seems to be going online. People don't seem to go out and shop much, but I'm going to be honest with you, our mall's growing. We have people continuously coming in. We just recruited we just got the Food City that came and just did the grand opening, and that's something I told somebody the other day. We're working hard on trying to give people more stuff to do in Gadsden, because I realized there was 2,000 people at the ribbon cutting of Food City a couple months ago. I thought, man, if that's 2,000, that means nobody had anything to do that night. So we got to improve that. We've got to do a better quality of life and things like that. So I do think that that working hard on making the mall more of an indoor type of entertainment district, trying to give it more of the bowling alley feel. We're working on some golf simulators, baseball simulator type restaurants that would go there. We've got a new sports bar, the Game Day Grill, that's coming in where Trey Regazzi's is. We've got, what am I missing? Oh, the movie theater. That was a big deal for some reason, that we're updating the movie theater to where it's got the reclining seats and the all-you-can-eat popcorn and alcohol. For some reason, everybody wants to go to the movie theater and lay back and drink beer while they watch movies these days. I don't know why, but that's just part of it, you know. That's right. And then the last, we're working on some property behind Arby's and McDonald's to try to. That's the kind of a vision of Gunnersville City Harbor. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but we've got some developers that we're working through right now trying to go. I go back to the property across or behind Arby's and McDonald's. We're working hard with a developer and an architect to finalize and agree on some type of look on what we're wanting, and then once we get that, you'll kind of see some announcements come down on what we're actually planning on doing. But I promise you, it'll be cool. We're working off of a boardwalk, a public boardwalk that would stretch from basically the old pump house behind Hampton Inn. That would stretch all the way back up to the hotel, to the brand new hotel that we'll be building. I was talking about the falls a little while ago. Do you guys keep up with the falls and all that goes on up there? So we got a $15 million campground that's being built. We think that's going to really help push the falls. We think that a lot of commercial development will focus around that once we get the the campground done. So we're pretty excited about that. I'd like to take about a bunch of easy questions and one hard one. All right.
Acknowledging the aesthetic benefits of all of the trimming of the trees along the water's edge, those trees and shrubs also help stabilize the banks.
Sure.
And in recognition of the concern about siltation in Neely Inner Lake, what steps are being done to mitigate bank erosion and the results?
So what we're planning on doing is seeding that this spring, coming back and figured out. We're working through Heath, our engineer, right now. First thing we're going to leave is we're definitely not taking out any stumps or anything like that, just for that specific. Yeah, exactly. And so right now we're working off of trying to figure out a seeding program that we can reseed. And things like that, but we don't want it to just, we don't want those trees to come back. I just think that but we are working hard on that, and we have acknowledged that.
John,
yes.
One thing, comment to Kelly's, I was at River Rocks Campground yesterday.
Yeah.
And they were finishing up trimming along 759.
Oh, yeah.
I was real pleased. I'd forgotten. I remember, I lived here when the lake backed up, or the river backed up and formed the lake, but all of that riprap that we forgot that they put out initially before the lake was backed up, it's still there and it's solid. I was real pleased to see, because you could hear that big grinding machine do the trees, and then every once in a while hit a rock and chips would go flying everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So that should help a little bit too on
yes,
that
there's
erosion.
no doubt.
Another question, an easy one, I think. What kind of in general is the vision that the city has from, say, down around Arby's or wherever, but primarily when you relocate 411, what's the vision for down through that section?
That we're vacating 411 on.
Yeah.
So if you would imagine actually just having green space to where a boardwalk would come through, you've got a lot of green grass, a lot of park benches. You've got a place for your kids to run up and down and play. You can sit down and have a picnic. You will have those nice lights that'll come up from the boardwalk. What we're working off of is how Chattanooga reimagined their river. 20 years ago. And we're trying to kind of follow that same footprint. We want to become the Chattanoogas and the Franklin, Tennessees, and the Austin, Texas. And so we want to see more people come and enjoy the river. You don't actually have to have a boat to enjoy the river, and we want people to come out and do that more often. We'd like to see it, where we would like to have more commercial development, and then be able to run like water taxis around to those developments, like what Universal Studios. That would be, if anybody ever said, hey, what would be your envision to where you say, you've done a good job, that would be our finishing point, is when we can have 5 to 6 different developments right in that area. People could get on a water taxi, could get out and just enjoy the water as they travel around to the different developments. So with the Goodyear property, unfortunately, another entity has purchased it, and so we're only as good as they are when it comes to recruitment. Now, are we actively recruiting for them? Yes, we are. It's just like the Gadsden Mall. They're the ones who own the mall, but am I actively recruiting, trying to get retail and things like that? Absolutely. It helps Gadsden. It helps Etowah County. The same thing with the Goodyear plant. Those guys own the facility, but we're out constantly looking for manufacturers to show up there. We've got 2 or 3 that we're probably close to announcing. We can't, not something we can talk about in open meetings and things like that, but I do think that you'll see something moving in the next, let's say, 6 months. Mega Site, I think they've got 3 or 4 that are in the late stages of development of trying to get landing a couple of manufacturers over there. You'll see. I think before the end of the year you'll have an announcement for Mega Site. It's the Mega Site out there, guys. I don't know if you realize it or not, but it's not a matter of if somebody's coming to it. It's just a matter of when. There's the major players, Norfolk Southern, Alabama Power, Spire. Those guys, they've already spent their $10, $15, $20 million investing into the Mega Site. They've already got most of it set up out there. We're just waiting on somebody to show up, and they're going to be pushing hard. And they do a lot of economic recruitment for Alabama also. And so That's coming. It's just a matter of in the next, so in the next 18 months, I think that you'll see a lot more jobs. The problem with our Etowah County is what?
Housing.
You darn gum right. Housing. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day. We could land 2,500 jobs. We don't have the housing for them. So right now is a good time if you want to be in Etowah County. I'd be building houses. It's a good, and we actually we've been working with a lot of developers on that, building condos or looking at building subdivisions and things like that. So it's a good time to be in Gadsden. It's a good time to be in Etowah County. I do think that even though we're probably the smallest county landmass wise in the state of Alabama, I mean, crap. Man, we got rivers and falls and mountains and lakes and things like that.
Speaking of rivers, are you considering Riverfest?
God, wouldn't we do it though? Man, you speaking my language now. You get me excited about talking about me some Riverfest. Agreeing with you there. I'd like to go back. We tore the whole, convention hall down up right where Riverfest was. I was telling the mayor the other day, I said, man, we could slide that stage back about 100 yards and I could put a party deck up there where the old convention hall was. I could sell 1,000 tickets up there. But I will give you the skinny on the Riverfest. It's tough. And the reason why for Riverfest these days is back when we were all growing up, an artist would cut an album and he made more money going on selling that album. So he'd go on tour promoting his album. Well, now you've got Spotify and you've got Pandora and you got all these ways to listen to their music without having to actually buy a vinyl record. So they don't make money on the vinyl records anymore because there's no vinyl records there. So they have to make money on going on tour. And so anybody I'll give you a quick story. I know I like to tell stories, but Kid Rock. I kept thinking, man, if I could get Kid Rock to Gadsden, Alabama, we would be rocking, So I called enough people, I finally found the guy, his personal manager. And I said, man, let me just be honest with you. I said, Kid Rock, he sings songs about Gadsden. Gadsden is the epitome of everything that has to do with Kid Rock. It's just, blue collar workers. We're just good country people. I'm telling you, he would rock it. I'm going to build the biggest stage on the banks of the Coosa River. I'm going to have a 100-yard catwalk out there, and I'm going to have fire coming out as he's riding a Harley out on the stage and the drums playing. It's going to be the greatest night in the world. He said, man, that's going to cost you about $1.5 million to even get him to show up in gas. And I started calculating in my head of how many tickets I got to sell for $1.5 million. I said, let me get back with you on that one. But that's unfortunately, to get a big artist in Gadsden, Alabama, I'm looking at $1 million. And I hadn't quite got the mayor talked into spending that, cashing $1 million check. But I'm close. So I tell you what we've done a little bit of is the amphitheater. So I'm working a little bit harder on trying to bring in some acts that I might have brought in years ago for Riverfest. And just to be honest with you, I can sit 2,000 people in that amphitheater. If I can sell $100 tickets, so that's $200,000. I can go find an artist that's pretty good for $200,000. So I think we're going to focus on moving that, and then we're going to grow it bigger and bigger and bigger. So. I was talking about the falls a little while ago. Do you guys keep up with the falls and all that goes on up there? So we got a $15 million campground that's being built. We think that's going to really help push the falls. We think that a lot of commercial development will focus around that once we get the campground done. So we're pretty excited about that. So with the Goodyear property, unfortunately, another entity has purchased it, and so we're only as good as they are when it comes to recruitment. Now, are we actively recruiting for them? Yes, we are. It's just like the Gadsden Mall. They're the ones who own the mall, but am I actively recruiting, trying to get retail and things like that? Absolutely. It helps Gadsden. It helps Etowah County. The same thing with the Goodyear plant. Those guys own the facility, but we're out constantly looking for manufacturers to show up there. We've got 2 or 3 that we're probably close to announcing. We can't, not something we can talk about in open meetings and things like that, but I do think that you'll see something moving in the next, let's say 6 months. Megasite, I think they've got some they've got 3 or 4 that are in the late stages of development of trying to get landing a couple of manufacturers over there. I think you'll see. I think before the end of the year, you'll have an announcement for mega site. You know, it's the mega site out there, guys. I don't know if you realize it or not, but that's things. It's not a matter of if somebody's coming to it. It's just a matter of when. There's the major players, Norfolk Southern, Alabama Power, Spire. Those guys, they've already spent their 10, 15, 20 million dollars investing into the mega site. They've already got most of it set up out there. We're just waiting on somebody to show up, and they're going to be pushing hard, and they do a lot of economic recruitment for Alabama also, and so that's coming. It's just a matter of in the next 18 months, I think that you'll see a lot more jobs. The problem with our Etowah County is what?
Housing.
You dang gum right. Housing. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day. We could land 2,500 jobs. We don't have the housing for them. So right now is a good time if you want to be in Etowah County. I'd be building houses. It's a good, and we actually we've been working with a lot of developers on that, building condos or looking at building subdivisions and things like that. So it's a good time to be in Gadsden. It's a good time to be in Etowah County. I do think that even though we're probably the smallest county landmass wise in the state of Alabama, I mean, crap. Man, we got rivers and falls and mountains and lakes and things like that. Yeah, is it Coosa River Tournament Trail? Team Trail. And so the city is working, we're gonna put in whatever money Lynn tells us to. But we're trying to raise about $30,000 or $40,000. We're gonna buy these. I didn't know what a fingerling was. I told you I'm learning on the job as we go, which is a small fish. Yeah. And he says he's buying these big ones. He says they're longer, they're older, and he wants to spend $30,000 or $40,000 restocking the Coosa River, and I think that's a great idea. So we have a lot of bass tournaments in Gadsden, and it's a huge economic development for us. I think our bait shop down there, I think it produces somewhere around $10 to $15 million a year just in economic development for the tournaments that we host throughout the year. So what his plan is to buy $40,000 worth of fingerlings, and then we're going to sponsor a bass tournament from the city, and then if there's whatever entries or entrants that go into that tournament, each will get bags of those fingerlings, and when they blast off the first stop, they're told to dump their fish into the water so that they get spread out across the whole entire watershed rather than just in one spot. So we were thinking that's a pretty cool idea. So we're excited about that, and I think that'll continue to grow that part of the river. So some cool things that we've got going on.
Rundown city.
Right, we're gonna make this thing Fun Town. That's right. Fun Town is our tag. So
So kudos to you guys.
thank you very much. Thank you. All right.
John, thank you so much.
Hey, Dave,
I
thank you for having me.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Good info.
Can I take this?